What's up, guys? D-Rock1992 here. For this next video and for my next movie review, I am going to be talking about the second movie that Michael Bay directed in his directorial career after Bad Boys, which, as I mentioned, came out in 1995. So this is the second film, and that movie is The Rock. It stars Sean Connery, Nicolas Cage, and Ed Harris. And this film is about, there's these group of Marines who turn rogue. They steal these VX gas-armed M55 rockets. Now, this gas is very, very capable of killing many, many people. This is deadly gas for sure. So they steal the gas. They go to Alcatraz. For those of you who don't know, Alcatraz is a prison in San Francisco. Towards San Francisco, a legendary prison. Since closed down, I believe. But Alcatraz was a big-time prison for a lot of convicts and all that. So, well, anyway, these Marines are threatening to blow the rockets, to deploy the rockets into San Francisco, unless the government, unless the United States government pays them for their, unless the U.S. government gives them money, basically. So this is pretty much a blackmail type film. It really does remind me a lot of the James Bond movies, the original James Bond movies, where Ernst Stavro Blofeld and Spectre, they want to do harm to the world unless they get paid. But The Rock is a little bit different. It's the same thing, like it's blackmail, but then again, the motives are very different. And, well, I'm not going to get too much into detail, but, so yeah, I mean, I'm not going to get too much into detail here. But anyway, it's up to Dr. Stanley Goodspeed, who is a chemical weapons specialist. He's the guy that knows about these rockets, this VX gas. He has to go to Alcatraz with a team of Navy SEALs to try to stop the rogue Marines. With him is a prisoner, a former prisoner of Alcatraz, a guy named John Mason, played by Sean Connery. Goodspeed is played by Nicolas Cage. So Mason and Goodspeed, with the Navy SEAL team, they have to try to defeat these Marines. So that's essentially the plot of the film. And so I'm going to talk about three of the actors for sure. Because it is worth talking about. There's a few supporting actors and all that, but I mean, they did a nice job and whatnot, the supporting actors in this film. But for the purposes of this video, I'm going to talk about the three standout actors, the three lead actors in this film. And I start with Nicolas Cage as Dr. Stanley Goodspeed. This is definitely a Nicolas Cage role. Nicolas Cage, I mean, is known for being in a lot of great movies. National Treasure, the National Treasure films, Kick-Ass, Raising Arizona's one. I've never seen it, but it's a big movie of his. Leaving Las Vegas, another one I haven't seen, but he won an Academy Award for it, I believe. So the point is, Nicolas Cage has been in a lot of films. A lot of successful films, some bad films, but anyway, he plays Goodspeed well. I mean, he plays that character well because Goodspeed isn't a guy who's an experienced Navy SEAL. He's not an experienced military guy. He's just a chemical weapons guy. So the fact that he tries to save the day is very odd, and it's definitely a quite the story and all that. So I like how Nick Cage played his character. I like the character and all that. He's got some funny lines and whatnot. His character is kind of dumb, but it's all in good fun, basically. But yeah, Nick Cage is good in this film. Sean Connery is a big standout as John Mason. A big standout. There is one particular line that he utters to Nick Cage in this film that's very funny. It's a very funny line. You guys might know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to spoil it, but yeah, it's a funny line, and Sean Connery's just a very good. Sean Connery, of course. The best thing he's known for is James Bond. I mean, he was the first ever Bond. He was the originator. And he was great in this movie. And there's a lot of similarity to Bond, because in this movie, actually, Mason is an MI6 agent, a former MI6 agent. And in the James Bond movies, MI6 is the agency that Bond works for. So very similar there. So, in the fact that he's an agent. So this is kind of... It probably was an homage to Connery's tenure as Bond. And an homage to the Bond films in general. For sure. But yeah, Sean Connery was great in this movie. But the standout to me is Ed Helms as the bad guy in this movie. He plays Frank Hummel, who's a disenchanted brigadier general. He's a guy who... He served his country for so many years. The country... He feels like his country served him wrong, did him wrong. You know, did his fellow countrymen wrong. And so he... I'll be right back here. I've just got to plug in my computer. Oh, he feels like... I'm back now. He feels like his country has done him wrong, and he is looking for revenge. He's looking to avenge... he's looking to take revenge for the people that were wronged by the U.S. government. So... He's a bad guy. He feels like he's doing what he's doing for the right thing. He feels like what he's doing is for the good of his fellow countrymen, who were wronged by the U.S. government. So he's not a true bad guy. He doesn't have, he doesn't even want to carry out the plan. He doesn't really want to, but he's using it as blackmail, as leverage, to get what he wants for his fellow countrymen. So, for the character that Ed Harris portrayed, he was brilliant in this film, and he was the standout. He was the big standout for me. Just slightly over Sean Connery. Sean Connery did a great job. Nicolas Cage did a great job. These three guys right there, they really carry this film. And as a lot of Michael Bay movies are, this movie is action-packed. A lot of great action scenes. A lot of standout action scenes. The ending, in particular, is a good action. There's a good action scene towards the end. It's just a little bit of humor in the movie. I'd say this is totally an action movie. It's not an action comedy film like the Bad Boys movies, but it's action with a little bit of humor in it. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, and I'll say this right now, I love this movie. I love The Rock a lot. It's one of my top action movies of all time. If not my top, I mean, it holds high. I hold that movie in high regard. I love this movie so much. It's a masterpiece in action filmmaking. It's what you need to do. To directors who want to direct. This is how you direct an action movie. The Rock is how you do it. Anyway, so that's just my 2 cents on it. I really, really love this movie a lot. Nick Cage did another movie in the 90s, another action movie, Con Air, which I also love. Maybe I'll do a video on that. I probably will do a movie review on Con Air. But anyway, I mean, again, this movie, it gets a 5 out of 5 stars for me completely. I mean, this movie is amazing. So there you go, with great action, and combined with the performances of Nick Cage, Sean Connery, and Ed Harris, this movie's great. I mean, it really is. So, and this movie made money too. It was on a budget of $75 million. The movie made $335.1 million worldwide. So it was a big success, big blockbuster movie for that time, for the late 90s and all that. So it will go down as one of the greatest 90s action movies of all time, if not one of the best of all time, for sure. So, and there were a lot of great 90s action movies. I love 90s action movies anyway. They're one of my favorite decades of... The 90s are one of my favorite decades of movies. And it really is for the action, for sure. For those great action movies and all that. I can name a handful of films that are great from the 90s and all that. So, well, without further ado, that is it for this video on The Rock. And my love, and my undying love and admiration for this movie. So that's it for this video. D-Rock 1992